long time, sir. And this is, one of the things about doing this in the building is the way that it goes and what you're aware of. And this is something that you've been doing for a long time, and you've gone through a couple of these types of shows, and this is another one that you'll go through if the reports prove out to be true.
Yeah, indeed. And I think today was a difficult day in Berea because at the end of the day, Hue Jackson is a well-liked human being in this building and certainly very well-liked by the Haslam. So I don't think this was easy for them on any level. But the Browns sit where the Browns sit. And, last 2 years, 1-31. Now here you are, 2-5-1. And, 3-36-1 doesn't add up to good enough for this football team. And obviously, I think we all knew something was coming at one point or another. Personally, I'm very sad. I consider Hue Jackson a very good friend, and I wish nothing but success for him here with the Browns and obviously going forward for him. So it's a sad day, and I've been through now a lot of these days in Berea, unfortunately, and every time you hope that this team will get it right and you have confidence that, in John Dorsey to try to right this ship. And ultimately what we need to focus on is, continuing to develop this young roster. And you have 8 games left in this season to continue to do that. And you have a great young quarterback in Baker Mayfield. This offense needs to take big steps forward. We'll talk about that in the Pittsburgh game and what we saw. And, there's regression there on the offensive side of the ball, and that can't continue. But I think for the Browns, here they sit. In many ways, I think the weight and whether or not the last 2 years as a record were fair for Hue Jackson, it was what it was, and you were never going to get away from it. And Joe Thomas played for him and said that's absolutely not his record. That's not his fault. I think if you're Hue Jackson, you probably feel like, man, I never really even got 16 games with a real NFL team. But the NFL is a results-oriented business. The results here for the Browns have not been good enough. It's been that way for a long, long time. And once again, we'll try to find somebody that they feel can lead this team. There's still, as I said, much work to be done this year with 8 games to go. And we'll find out, I would imagine, while we're on the air, if not soon thereafter, who will be leading this organization in the interim. But you'd have to imagine at the end of the year, they will be looking for the next big thing to come and grow this football team. But right now, it's all about over 8 games. To be realistic about it, it's about developing this young football team and, most importantly, developing your young quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Because to me, the most frightening thing to me was coming out of that Steelers game. That's the first time I saw the look in his eye that I've seen in the look of many talented young players who have come to the Browns, and they're just like, this is going to be a lot harder than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah, and I think the trend of what we had seen in 2 of the last 3 games, because what you saw in the second half against San Diego and what you saw in this Pittsburgh game where these games just get away, we hadn't seen that yet. In the first 5-6 games of the season, we hadn't seen it. And what we had seen from Baker Mayfield was this instant jolt of energy and frankly, excellence. The way that he played the quarterback position was one that was the reason that justified the number 1 pick. He was everybody that we said, the prince that was promised, and all of those things. That's and right. What we saw in the game against Pittsburgh was very clearly an offense that had gone in reverse. That I don't know what was it trying to be, and how does it go about its business. And before all of this reporting this morning and into the early part of the afternoon, before any of that, my thinking coming out of the game Sunday was all that matters is the development of Baker Mayfield. That's it. Now, that's myopic maybe, but and there's a million other little things that come off of that. But you took the guy number 1 overall. You took him to be the franchise quarterback. We have seen glimpses of brilliance in him, and I don't even know if everything that has gone wrong offensively, to me, that should not even come close to all falling on his shoulders. It's a collaborative effort. But he is the franchise quarterback, and so the nurturing of him over the course of the next 8 weeks, that's the whole thing. That's what this season has been about. As soon as he was inserted in, now you get that win against the Jets. You should have won the game against Oakland if not for the spot being reversed. You get another win against the Ravens, and then you're sitting there at 2-2-1, and you're going playoffs. Let's chase some playoffs. Let's do it right now. But this was always a team that started 6 rookies. It was always a team that started 4 rookies on the offensive side of the ball. And the growth of those players, the long-term growth of those players is all that matters. Now those kids got to learn how to win. They got to learn how to close games. They got to learn how to be disciplined. They got to do all those things. And if the reports are to be true, and then you have to find somebody that can put those people in the best position to succeed and for those things to happen. And that's where you are on a Monday. Is you're 2-5-1, and this is a zero-sum business. And fair or not, the previous 2 years are something that hangs around you, and you can't shake. And Hue Jackson was not able to. So that's the position that you find yourself in on a Monday. And this is a tough. This is not where any of us thought this would be 8 weeks in. You did not foresee this, not to this extent, and not even going back. There was a real turning point when
hold on.
Go ahead.
This is let me make sure this is verified. It says this is Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport is reporting right now on Twitter. Source: the Browns have fired offensive coordinator Todd Haley. More madness is his direct quote. That is you're seeing this all in real time here, folks.
So 1 minute ago, this is a verified account.
It's Ian Rappaport, and I just got a text from somebody at the NFL Network who told me that yes, that's what they believe. That Todd Haley is also out here in Cleveland.
I'm not even sure how to.
I don't know how to process all of this. I don't know who's going to be running the offense because it's going.
There were two play callers on this offense, and if the reporting is
Ken
accurate,
Zampese's been an offensive coordinator as well,
yeah,
and is the quarterback's coach, which would make me think he is the most natural guy left if this is to be true. But Ian Rappaport, the source: of Browns have fired offensive coordinator Todd Haley. More madness, and this again leads me to believe that there was a dysfunction here that was bigger than I think any of us knew. Maybe we saw the tip of the iceberg in Hue Jackson's post. It was the Buccaneers press conference.
Sunday press conference.
That was considered to be untenable. I would say on some level, the offense has regressed significantly. If this is to be true, I don't know. Wow. You're the most important thing, and we'll go back to it, for this organization right now as we sit here today, is that Baker Mayfield gets developed. And it would make me think that it's got to be Zampese, maybe Freddie Kitchens, the running backs coach.
In terms of in charge of offense, calling plays,
he called plays. If people remember, he did call plays in the preseason game against Detroit. In Detroit, he got to call the final preseason game. He actually called the plays in that one, and obviously it was a good performance by Baker Mayfield. So those would be the guys that I would think would be the options. My guess as we hear this is that Greg Williams would most likely be the next guy up. He is the only guy here that could be maybe there are other names I'm just not thinking of. You're getting, this is as live reactionary radio as you get with the news of Todd Haley. So, and again, that's a report that Todd Haley has also been fired. I realize he hasn't been good. I think the offense has regressed. You go into the fourth quarter yesterday with -1 yards of offense in the second half with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. This is surprising to me. I thought it was a one or the other scenario. Something had to happen. It turns out the Browns have had enough, or it would appear, based on reports. Again, this is Ian Rappaport saying the Browns have also fired offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Bo, welcome to the Browns, by the way, for your first season.
Time for the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of the Cleveland Browns. All the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Okay, so this is what this then, Nathan, from our vantage point, and we're taking in this information as it comes. In real time. My view of this then would be that the public battle, I can't think of another word, the public discourse played out between, for the perception from, I would say probably from John Dorsey, from Todd and Hue, would not be tolerated. And that this was less about performance and more about, or maybe equally about, the look of it, of the way this played out over the last week.
I've been here long enough to know that this organization has been rife with dysfunction and infighting prior to John Dorsey's arrival. It obviously continued with Hue and Todd Haley from what we know, from what we were able to glean from their press conferences. John Dorsey is making a statement today, in my opinion, that will not be tolerated anymore in the Browns. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good thing for this organization.
Yeah, that this wasn't about numbers or offensive production or anything, but it was about we will not tolerate this.
I think it's about performance. And you can tolerate a lot with winning. Winning allows you to deal with a lot of personality stuff. But when you're not winning, it is not. And Pro Football Talk right now, Mike Florio says, I can confirm, these are his words, confirmed that Todd Haley is out in Cleveland as well. So it wasn't either or, it was both. Why don't we,
try and wrap our heads around this?
Try to wrap our heads around it, get some thoughts together, and see what we can figure out.
We will have Joe Thomas at the bottom of the hour. You will not want to miss that. We will ask him about all of this, and we'll try to get some clarification on and getting some things confirmed on where this all goes. Watershed Distillery was raised out of commitment to community and the courage of forging one's own path, and owners Dave and Greg quit their jobs, swapped out their suits for jeans and T-shirts, and started distilling. Watershed vodka is handmade by the home team right here in Ohio and available throughout Cleveland. Much more on a very busy Sunday in Berea coming up next. You listen to CBD on 850 WKNR.
All right, welcome to F1. Woohoo! Oh, the F-150 kicks butt and takes names. Like how the high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy F-150 thrashes the competition with best-in-class towing and torque. Mm-hmm, totally saw that coming. Chad, how do you know so much about F-150 beating the competition? I drive the competition. Ooh, I'm so sorry. The Ford F-150, it doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
Best-in-class claims with properly configured vehicles. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
At University Hospitals, great minds are pioneering new ways to care for your heart. And at UH Harrington Heart and Vascular Institute, experts are providing breakthrough cardiac procedures, from valve replacements done while patients are awake to heart interventions performed on babies before they're born, working to improve the health and life of every person who needs it. Make an appointment at uhhospitals.org or call 844-229-7994. University Hospitals, the science of health, the art of compassion.
Watershed Distillery was raised out of commitment to community and the courage of forging one's own path. Ever since owners Dave and Greg quit their jobs, swapped out their suits for jeans and T-shirts, and started distilling. Watershed Vodka is handmade by the home team right here in Ohio, with local ingredients whenever possible, always in the dogged pursuit of perfection. Watershed Distillery's honest Midwest spirits are available at liquor stores throughout Cleveland. Learn more at watersheddistillery.com, and please drink responsibly.
You're invited to check out the new Aloft Cleveland Downtown Hotel. Stay and play in the heart of the business and entertainment district of downtown Cleveland, only minutes away from First Energy Stadium. Amp up your visit with easy access to Cleveland's top attractions, including a free pass to the East Bank Fitness Club, fast and free Wi-Fi, and loft-inspired guest rooms. Book now at aloftclevelanddowntown.com for the best rates, guaranteed. Aloft Cleveland Downtown. Different by design.
Families and team members
back in a minute, guys.
Ready to play. When a family member gets injured, it can be a real game changer, leaving a family without a key player.
The best game plan can be found in a place where trust is earned and help is given. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO and let us help you get back in the game. Elk and Elk, proud partner of the Cleveland Browns.
Browns fans, the days of printing out PDF tickets and bringing them to the stadium are over. This season, the Browns will feature mobile ticketing for entry to all games at First Energy Stadium. To access your mobile tickets, download the official Browns app and visit the Tickets section. Select Manage My Tickets to view ticket barcodes or to transfer tickets to friends. Don't hold up the line by not being prepared. For more information, visit browns.com/mobile tickets.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN 850 WKNR.
You guys ready?
Yes.
All right, you guys are up.
Live in Berea on a Monday here on CBD. CareSource, individual and family health insurance. With health insurance from CareSource, you're not just covered, you're covered with kindness. All right, let's get the lay of the land of where we sit here on Berea, in Berea, according to the reporting Reports Hue Jackson has been fired as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. That coming this morning, first from Adam Schefter, and then within the last 5 or 6 minutes, Ian Rappaport, the first report that offensive coordinator Todd Haley has been relieved of his duties as well.
The NFL is tweeting it now. The actual NFL.
The actual NFL is
tweeting that Todd Haley has been fired as the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. So obviously this is a day that has become interesting. It's a day that certainly everybody will hope will be a turning point. It's an organization that is saying we're not tolerating the things that have plagued us in the past anymore. I think it'll be very interesting to see who is coming in to handle this offense, because as you and I said at the beginning, developing Baker Mayfield is the most important thing. I will say I didn't feel, and I know we've kind of danced around this issue a little bit. We had Dan Orlovsky in here to talk around this issue. Baker was not developing the last few weeks.
No, and we had talked a couple of weeks ago about how I can't remember who the guest we had on was, but we asked the direct question of what should an offense that
Orlovsky.
Was it Dan?
Yeah.
What should a Baker Mayfield offense look like that takes best advantage of him? And we've talked about this a lot about how, and you and I have said it pretty directly as well. Of listen, an NFL offense in 2018 is something that is quickly evolving, and all of a sudden everything is possible. And you had wondered if some of these old school coordinators would be extinct in the new NFL. And it appears on a Monday in Berea that at least 2 of them are from this building. I think the other thing to note of kind of just give you a timeline of where we are here. Nathan and I obviously in the building, and we have windows, and so we see people walking around and stuff. And there will probably be a process of telling the players, the staff. I mean, all this information is out now, but there will be official conversations from ownership to players to coaches, and then a plan at some point this afternoon of what this is going to look like going forward. It's my educated guess on how this thing will go. I don't have a timeline for in terms of what will happen within the next. It could happen in the next 10 minutes. Could happen in an hour and a half. It's hard to say, but that's the timeline of the way this thing will go. I think the thing that you can take as a Browns fan from this, absolutely, is that John Dorsey is at the forefront of this organization, and that this thing will be, of course, answering to the Haslams. It's their team, and they will still have ultimate say in all of that, and those conversations will be collaborative, but that John Dorsey is the voice of power in the building, and great. That's awesome. He had a great draft. He had a great free agency, and so this will be he's going to be this. I would imagine that he would have and he should have an incredibly heavy voice in the hiring of the next head coach, and that'll be something that'll take place over weeks and months, and that's the way that this process will go. And so they will do the delicate dance of playing the last 8 games of this season with the best chance for Baker Mayfield and these young players to develop and succeed, all at the same time having an eye on who could be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. It fits into the mold of taking the best of Baker Mayfield's ability and fits into the mold of what John Dorsey wants in a head coach.
Yes, and I think if we've learned anything today is that the Haslams have learned from some of the things that have plagued this organization in the past, and they will not tolerate losing. They will not tolerate public infighting. And that, I think that message, if there's anything that as a Browns fan you take away from that, that is it. The Haslams want to get this right. They're willing to pay a lot of money to get this right, because firing Todd Haley and firing Hue Jackson today will cost them a lot of money for services that will not be rendered to them. And they don't care. What they care about, obviously, is getting it right. And I think that when you look at John Dorsey, they believe in John Dorsey. They have the leader of the football operation here that they need. And so I think going forward, we will see John Dorsey being the guy that makes a lot of these decisions in concert, obviously, with the owners. They're never not going to be a part. Yeah. They own the football team. That's the way that it works. But this is, I believe, a turning point in terms of how this organization is going to operate. And as somebody who has been very close, to many people here, I've seen many come, many go, I think that is a step in the right direction. If you're a Browns fan, whether you liked or didn't like Hue Jackson, whether you liked or didn't like Todd Haley, I think when you step back, you say we are now not going to be an organization that is going to tolerate the things that led to so much dysfunction in Berea in the past. And that, to me, is a very exciting thing. And I think if there's anything that gives you hope for the future, outside of the young talent that the Browns have assembled on the football field, and there is a lot of it, it's that signifies to me a major change going forward. Major change going forward, and something that I think if really has an opportunity to have a tangible impact on the success of this organization going forward, which is critical. It's critical. You'll look at this as a seminal moment, because in the past, I can tell you there have been power plays one way or the other in fighting, and one side won, the other side lost, etc. We're not doing it. Not doing it. And I know this is going to be a bizarre time for a pop culture reference, but I don't know if any of you out there watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
Right.
But if you're a contestant on The Bachelor and Bachelorette and you spend your time with The Bachelor or Bachelorette talking about another contestant, it's over for you.
Yeah.
Focus on yourself. Do your job. Do what you can to make this organization the best it can be. Don't blame. Stop pointing fingers. Let's be accountable. Let's all go out there, work hard, and do what we have to do as an organization to be the organization that, A, we want to be, and B, the fans of this great city deserve, because it hasn't happened. And I think today, this Haslam's, John Dorsey, this organization making a statement that will not be tolerated anymore. There will be no winners in political infighting. There will only be losers. And I think when you make the statement, when you fire Hue Jackson and follow that up with the firing of Todd Haley, if that doesn't reverberate, if that message is not received, then you shouldn't be here anymore.
Well said out of you. There will be a Browns way going forward. It'll be shaped by the Haslams and by John Dorsey. That's the clear message as we continue on a Monday. The Browns picked up 2 passes yesterday. That means you can pick up a free small curly fry today at your nearest Arby's restaurant. All you need to do is mention the interception. Only at participating Cleveland locations. Arby's, we have the meats. Coming up next, Joe Thomas, CBD 850 WKNR.
It's our annual 000 sales event going on right now at Mentor Mitsubishi. Hi, everybody, it's Jeff Sukup. Get 0% APR, 0 down payment, and no payments until 2019 on select new Mitsubishis. Or how about 0% for 60 months under the all-new 2018 Eclipse Cross? Getting turned down? Getting tired of hearing no? Your job and your trade will get you your keys to your brand new Mitsubishi. Get up to $4,000 in down payments with rebates on your junker trade. Nobody sells Mitsubishis for less than Mentor Mitsubishi, 8505 Mentor Avenue, or shop online at MentorMitsubishi.com.
Hey, it's Emmett from my team at Liberty Ford. With 6 locations of inventory to choose from, visit LibertyFord.com and check out our massive selection of new vehicles that are on sale now. And right now, you can get great lease specials with 0 money down on F-150s, Escapes, or you can purchase with 0% APR financing. Visit LibertyFord.com for details. At Liberty, there's always a sale.
Liberty's in Aurora, Maple Heights, Canton, Parma Heights, Brunswick, Vermilion.
There are 3 things every homeowner wants their home to be: smarter, safer, and more fun. What if I told you could do all 3 in one product? Introducing the OneLink Safe and Sound, a hardwired smart smoke and carbon monoxide alarm with a premium home speaker and Amazon Alexa voice assistant in one sleek device. Built with First Alert safety technology and providing an immersive, great sound experience, the Safe and Sound elevates any home. Learn more at onelink.firstalert.com. That's onelink.firstalert.com.
Fall for these great deals at Mark's. Honeysuckle white frozen turkeys, any size hens or toms, just 59 cents a pound. Limit 2. Nabisco large family size cookies in assorted flavors are just 3 for $10. Tomatoes, beefsteak, or on the vine are just $1.49 a pound. And Pillsbury moist supreme cake mixes are just 10 for $10. Make sure you check out the ever-changing closeout aisle. We're getting truckloads of stuff every day. Ohio-owned, Ohio pride. Mark's.
Looking for work? Minutemen is hiring all 3 shifts on Cleveland's near west side. Machine operators, press operators,
All right, guys, we don't have Joe just yet.
/ESPN. This is a great opportunity, so hurry before these positions get filled. No experience? That's okay. Now's your chance to get trained as a machine operator, press operator, or inspector, and they'll pay you for the training. I told you this was a great opportunity. Go to MinutemenInc.com/ESPN. That's MinutemenInc.com/ESPN.
What's the scariest thing about going to the dentist? Opening your mouth or opening your wallet? Because just a simple cleaning can cost $150, and things like root canals can cost you hundreds more. If you don't have dental insurance to help, you should give Physicians Mutual Insurance Company a call. 1-800-500-7616. This isn't a discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps pay for checkups right away, so you can call today and get your teeth cleaned tomorrow. Plus, it helps cover the more expensive procedures you might need down the road. Fillings, crowns, bridges, even costly dentures. There's no deductible and no annual maximum. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired or on Medicare. Plus, you can choose any dentist you'd like. That's right, any dentist you want. Call and we'll rush you a free information kit with all the details. 1-800.
All right, guys, coming back. I'll let you know when Joe calls in.
1-800-500-7616. 1-800-500-7616.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN 850 WKNR.
You guys ready?
Do we have Joe, buddy?
No, he's not. I'll get in your ear when he calls, but he hasn't called yet.
We're a little early, too.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Man Can, awesome wine in a can. Yes, in a 12-ounce can. Man Can, 100% award-winning California wine. Available at First Energy Stadium and at local retailers. Here's the lay of the land on a Monday after a loss to the Steelers. Hue Jackson out as Browns head coach, according to reports. Todd Haley the same as Browns offensive coordinator. I think it is very, very clear to get to the point where what the future of this organization will be dictated with a heavy hand by John Dorsey, with the Haslams having ultimate say over that. And I've, as I said in the first segment, I think this is as much about some of the things that happened last week off the field as some of the stuff that was happening on the field with the offense. And the most critical thing for this organization going forward is the nurturing and the growth of Baker Mayfield and some of these other young players on this roster. And I think what you said, the reason I wanted to take that break quickly is I thought you said it as flawlessly as you can. In many ways, you represent the Browns fans. But you've done this show for a long time, and I think what you said there about this being a major turning point for the organization was, first off, very well said, and also heartfelt, and also accurate, because this is a new day, and now this doesn't happen in the way that many thought that it would. This happens, in the middle of the season, in a week 8, as my God, we got the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town Sunday. I don't know if you've seen them recently. So they're coming to town on Sunday. This comes after, 3 weeks ago we were talking 2-2-1 and saying, this is a team that could chase the playoffs and go for it now. And there was talk of, making a big swing in a trade at the trade deadline. All of those things now, you don't even know where this is going to go. By the way, trade deadline is tomorrow. So all of these things are swirling. This has been a wild day. If there is anyone who understands what these days are like even more than you, my friend, it is our next guest. It is Joe Thomas, the All-Pro left tackle, future first ballot Hall of Famer. Joe, your reaction to the reports today that Hue Jackson has been let go and that Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, has been let go.
Yeah, obviously a tough day. It's really hard that we've come to this point and they have let go of Todd and Hue, and you wish him the best going forward, but I think John Dorsey came to the point where he realized, it was time to make a move. He didn't like the direction it seemed like with the team had kind of changed in the last couple of weeks, and I think he wanted to make a move before things got any more messy. It seemed like there was some drama that had kind of bubbled up in the coaching staff with Hue and Todd and maybe some of the other coaches. And he felt like because of all the young guys in that locker room, it was important to change the direction immediately and attempt to get this thing headed in the right path with a move that he felt was it was tough, but it was necessary.
All right, let's start with just your reaction when you got the news about Hue Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I was, I guess, because we'd kind of heard some of it last night, not totally shocked, but in my 11 years in Cleveland, I had never been involved in a coach being fired in the middle of a season. And it's been a while since I can remember a coach being fired before really the midway point. I mean, we're 8 games in, but with a 17-game regular season or a 17-week regular season, it's not even halfway through the season yet. And so obviously there was probably a lot of things going on behind the scenes that us as outsiders, we may never find out about. But the man in charge, John Dorsey, Jimmy Haslam, D. Haslam, decided that the direction that they were seeing was something that we can't continue down.
When you take that in, and I know for you, you're very tight with Hue. You've been a big Hue Jackson supporter, as have I have been, and obviously it makes it hard. So you have that emotional reaction, you're dealing with that, and then all of a sudden the news comes down that Todd Haley is also out. What did you think about that?
Well, that was a big surprise. I think based on the reports that I'd heard last night, that we had all heard, it sounded like maybe one or the other, right? We kind of figured that if Todd got fired, maybe Hue would take over the offense or vice versa. But to have both of them get fired leads me to believe that there was maybe even more drama behind the scenes than we realized, and that John Dorsey felt leaving Hue or Todd was too dysfunctional for the guys that were left. So to me, that speaks that there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and that Todd's maybe personality, some of his abrasiveness, was something that even though Hue wasn't in anymore, that maybe he was rubbing more than just Hue the wrong way.
Joe, you had mentioned in your first answer about John having to make sure this thing gets back on track. How do you go about doing that? You've eliminated the most important thing, I think, is the maturation, the growth, the nurturing of Baker Mayfield, and putting him in the best position to succeed. You had a head coach who was a play caller, and Todd Haley was obviously a play caller. We're not sure exactly what direction this is going to go, but how do you make sure that that's accomplished over the last 8 weeks of the season?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, John Dorsey, he's considered that, and he was considering the option of letting things ride out for the rest of the season, and hopefully that would give Baker Mayfield the best chance to continue that maturation process. But clearly he weighed the dysfunction that was going on behind the scenes. It was heavier than whatever benefit it would be for keeping those guys around for Baker. And he felt that in order to eliminate that dysfunction so that it doesn't bleed into Baker's mindset, he had to get rid of both of those guys. And it's interesting, but it kind of is very telling about maybe that dysfunction that was happening behind the scenes that was starting to bubble to the surface. And I think from John Dorsey's perspective, he was probably very concerned that any of those things could potentially be getting into any of his young players' heads, especially Baker Mayfield being a first-year quarterback. I remember when I was a rookie, you're just so oblivious to the business workings of the NFL and the personalities, because by and large, most college players come from successful programs.
Yep.
And they're used to stability. They're used to the head coach being basically the de facto president of the college. They're the most powerful person on campus. It's almost like they're the governor in many states. I mean, you look at Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, he may be more powerful than the governor down there. I mean, when you're a head coach at a Division I college that's really successful, you are beloved by so many people that you have so much power and responsibility. And that brings so much stability to the program that you become like a father figure to all these players. And they don't even understand, they can't even comprehend that you would get fired or go somewhere else. And I think you get into the real world of the NFL where it's a business and there's a lot of backstabbing that goes on. There's a lot of drama and dysfunction that happens, and you just can't believe it. And it's really hard to comprehend because you have to try to somehow keep the X's and O's in front of you and be able to focus on your job. And I think in many ways, the dysfunction that I had early on in my career and all the turnover that I had, it almost helped me become a better player individually, because it really hammered home the ability to just focus on your task and to focus on the things that you can control, because it's easy for a rookie to get carried away with all the drama and the dysfunction that's being carried out, not only behind the scenes and in meeting rooms, but in the media. I mean, this is something that gets talked about and written about day in and day out, and that's something that you just don't see in college. There's just not as much media and press around a college organization. There's not as much negative stories that get written about college programs, even when you're losing. And for the most part, I mean, especially if you're a guy like Baker, you're not used to having any losing in college. And so to protect that mentality, that brain that a young player like Baker has, and his mindset and his outlook on the game and his job is so important. And certainly John Dorsey took all those things into account.
Do you think this signifies a change in the way that the Haslams and John Dorsey and really this organization are going to do business, in the sense that I know you've been here and you probably could tell stories upon stories that there has been a lot of dysfunction here in Berea. Certainly in my 6 years here, I've seen plenty of it. Do you think today is the day where they're saying we're not doing that anymore? Do you believe this is a turning point, because it wasn't just Hue that went, but also Todd Haley?
Mm-hmm. I don't see things that way. The way I look at the NFL is you have dysfunction when you're losing, period, and you have happiness and camaraderie when you're winning, period. The only thing that deodorizes and sanitizes and makes people get along in the NFL is winning, because when you're losing, you're going to disagree. You know that if you continue on that path, you all will be fired. You'll be moving your kids to different schools. You'll be pulling your family up from where they've become to know their life. And it's very difficult. It's a hard living. It's a hard job as an NFL head coach. And it's just like any family. When really hard financial times or any difficulties are happening, a lot of times it leads to infighting. But when things are going great, everybody gets along and does great. So I challenge you to look at any team in the NFL that's got a losing record, especially over a couple of years. There's dysfunction. That's just the way it is. Those disagreements that are no big deal when you win become big deals and bubble to the surface when you lose. And so if the Browns want to eliminate the dysfunction that's been here for a long time, since before I even got here, it's about winning. And I think that's something that John Dorsey understands crystal clear.
Yeah, and obviously he does. My question to you is, okay, Tom Pelissero reporting right now there is a meeting at 2 o'clock. There's been no official word and really no leaked word of who the interim head coach of this football team is going to be. If you are a player right now, it's 1:37, you have a meeting at 2 o'clock where supposedly you're going to learn what's going on. What is that like right now for a player? And especially all these young players, this must be blowing a lot of their minds.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to wrap your mind around it when you're a young player because by and large, in high school, you probably never had a coach fired. In college, it's unlikely that you ever had a coach fire or leave. And so the business of the NFL is something that really hits you in the face hard. And for me, it was my rookie year, my first game of my rookie year. We benched Charlie Fry and traded him the next day. That was a welcome to the NFL moment for me. And then a year and a half later, we fired our head coach and our general manager. And it's something that's, you understand how devastating it is to all the people involved, and it's hard to really get used to it. It's hard to wrap your mind around it. I think as you get older in the NFL, you can accept that for the business side of the NFL, the ugly underbelly that everybody has to deal with, but you have to understand that it's a great way to make a living. It's in my opinion, it's the best business to be in, but it's difficult. I mean, you get paid a heck of a lot of money because the highs are great, but the lows are really low too. And as a rookie, as a young player, you have to understand that they're not changing the date of the Chiefs game that's coming up on Sunday just because your head coach got fired and you got a new offensive coordinator. And you got to understand that the band continues to play on. The show goes on. It doesn't matter what's happening behind those closed doors or now in front of all the fans and the media. You as a player, you still have a job to do, and they need to get that through their brains no matter who's calling these plays. Somebody's going to turn that film on, and they want to watch and see what you did. If you're going to be a free agent, the teams that are looking at you, they don't care what the circumstances were. They want to know what you're putting on film. And I think it's important for whoever steps into that head coaching role, that's the message that they send. Look, there's going to be probably a new guy that's the head coach next year that won't be the head coach the rest of this season, and he's going to be watching this film. He wants to see what everybody on that roster is going to do. He wants to see how they react to difficult situations and turmoil in the organization. And if you're a free agent and you might not be here, the people that are going to be looking at you in free agency are looking for the same thing. So even though this is a difficult time to be a player in that locker room, they got to find a way to pull themselves together. The leaders got to be able to send a unified message that it doesn't matter what happened with the head coach. This is a roster that needs to continue to improve and get better. And I'm excited to see who they name as the interim head coach.
Joe's appearance, of course, on CBD each week is brought to you by Elk and Elk. We saw what benefit John Dorsey got from getting in here, and you saw the offseason he had in free agency. We've seen what he did in the draft. And now I would assume, obviously, he would have a heavy hand in where this organization goes as a head coach. If you were riding shotgun on that, what does it look like? What do you look for? What do you think? Who do you think should be the next? What personality, at least? Maybe you don't have to do names or anything like that, Joe. But just what type of personality, what type of vision should this organization have going forward as its head football coach?
I think the direction that the NFL has been taking for the last 7 or 8 years really has been to an offensive side of things, and it's been slanted that way. It's a trickle-up game right now where everything from high school trickles to college and the concepts trickle to the NFL. And if you want to win, you got to be a great, sharp offensive mind. I think, generally speaking, John Dorsey will probably be looking for somebody who's creative offensively, who's got the most cutting-edge schemes and concepts. but who's also willing to change and adapt to whatever players he has, and he's willing to adjust the offense that he runs to the skill set of the players that he has. But you also have to understand that as a head coach, for the most part, yeah, you might be bringing in an offensive scheme or hiring a coordinator that believes in the same thing that you believe in, but your number one job as a head coach is to manage your coaches, and it's to manage your players, and it's to meet with the media, to manage the fans' expectations, to manage your ownership. Those are all the jobs of a head coach. As much as we always look about X's and O's, and largely that's why you get hired to be a head coach is, oh, were they a good coordinator? Were they good at the X's and O's? But as a coordinator, your roles change significantly when you move to being a head coach. Like I said, it's more about management than it is X's and O's when you do become that head coach. So it's important to pick a coach that keeps his coaches and his players accountable, and who's not afraid to bring some cutting-edge schemes. And like I said, it'll be interesting as a huge Browns fan. I'm excited to see where this search goes, but I think we'll all probably have to wait a little while because, like I mentioned, it is very early in the season, and it's going to be several weeks. Obviously, they're going to undertake the search process, but they're not going to hire a coach for a while.
So, Joe, I think the most important thing for the final 8 games, obviously developing your young talent, number one at the forefront of that, at the helm of that, is your quarterback, Baker Mayfield. I don't know that there's anybody in the building that runs Todd Haley's offense. Al Saunders,
Boy, that's a good point.
Much more like Hue Jackson. Ken Zampese, much more like Hue Jackson in terms of the offenses that they ran. Freddie Kitchens, I know, was Todd's boy, and they worked closely together, but I don't know. He's never been a coordinator before. So so what does that mean for Baker for the rest of the season? And then B, let's be real about it. The likelihood is there will be a new offensive coordinator. So you're going to look at Baker Mayfield is basically going to have had 3 offensive coordinators by the time he steps on the field for day one of his second season in the NFL. Does that make you nervous?
Yeah. One of the reasons that I feel John Dorsey was so adamant about not playing Baker this year and almost giving him a redshirt season was because he was honest about the fact that Hue Jackson was coming off of a 1-win 2 seasons, essentially. He won 0 games in his first year and 1 game in his second year. This was a make-or-break season, and John knew that if things didn't go well about midway through this season, there was a good chance that he was going to bring in somebody else. And I think he was sensitive to the fact that it's very difficult for any quarterback, much less a rookie, to go through and try to learn one system and then to change it right away, right? We hear so many times about these young quarterbacks who fail to develop because of the number of times that the system changes and their coach changes, because that is very difficult. The ideal situation is you install a rookie quarterback and a system, and you give them 3 or 4 years to learn that system. You give them 3 or 4 years with the same coaches. And then I think it takes 3 years in the NFL before you really have a solid understanding of an offensive system where you can go out and execute on a consistent basis. And if the defense throws something at you that you didn't see during that week of preparation, you're able to fall back on 2 years ago when you saw that look and you knew this was the concept, you knew how to answer it, right? It's like going into a science test and having something on there that you didn't study for. It wasn't part of this lecture series, but you remember talking about it 2 years ago and you know what the right answer is. That's just what being an NFL quarterback is like. That's what being an NFL player is like. You need to be able to have the answers to the test when you go out there, even if you hadn't studied for that specific question. And so it's so difficult for a young player to be in all these different systems. And so I think that was part of the thing. So one of the important things is how do they handle Baker moving forward? Who's the coach that's going to step in and continue running this offense? Now, no matter who you pick, they're not going to think the exact same way as Todd Haley did and be able to call the plays the same way, but you would at least expect that the play names aren't going to change, right? They're still going to be running from the same playbook, although they may feature different plays within that playbook and they may coach the concepts a little bit differently. For the most part, you're going to be still calling the same plays because changing the verbiage and changing the offense at this point in the season would actually be impossible. If that's not hyperbole, it would be impossible. They spend all offseason and all training camp just trying to learn the verbiage and learn where the concepts are on the sheet, much less the adjustments off of those concepts. So I would think if I had to just venture a guess that Al Saunders is going to be the guy that's the interim head coach, and I would think that Ken Zampese is going to step in, being that he was the quarterback coach. He probably has the best rapport with Baker. He'd be able to easily go in there and come up with game plans for the rest of the season, call the game similar to how Todd called it, maybe with his own wrinkles, and then slowly change things as the season goes on as he sees fit. And then after the season, John and Jimmy, they kind of come up with, all right, what's our plan moving forward? But it is a very tricky situation, and I don't have any really easy answers for how you handle this because it is hard. And I think that was one of the reasons that John was really cautious about playing a rookie quarterback in a year of potential turbulence like we're seeing.
Joe, that's a fantastic point. Not only need me to tell it to you, but it's a fantastic point of what if you think about, we talked about this a lot, about what this team looked like in August and what it is now. Based on, it was Tyrod Taylor, it was Carlos Hyde, it was Josh Gordon, Michael Kendricks. I mean, it was all of that. It was almost like you had one foot in. Let's win now. Let's try and get the playoffs with this veteran team. We'll play ball control. We'll control the game that way. And then another foot in. Yeah, but we got this kid and we got this stud running back kid, and just wait until these guys get along. So you're going to develop them in one line, and then you're going to try to win games in the other. And with the injury to Tyrod Taylor and the way that this thing is all gone, and then obviously everything else that's happened, we're just in a pretty wild place. I think that your comment on Dorsey and the red shirt of Baker is spot on, and that is probably right on what his intent was in that. And it's amazing to think where you get in 8 weeks.
Yeah. Think about the timeline and the difficulty of a general manager like John Dorsey coming in. He gets hired towards the end of the last season.
Yeah, 4 games left.
And then he has to decide on the head coach in January before they have any idea what they're going to do with the draft. So you have to commit to a head coach before you even know who you're drafting. And then maybe if it was the other way around, he would have decided to do something differently with the head coach going into last season. But you have to commit to the head coach, then you draft the quarterback. Then you say, all right, I'd rather see the quarterback sit out and wait and see what happens, because we want Hue Jackson to succeed, but if he doesn't, we're going to make a change. But now you're kind of caught in this difficult situation where the quarterback that you wanted to redshirt has been playing, and now you fire the coach that you had hoped could make it through the season and then become your coach. And so John Dorsey's he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's a tricky situation that they're in right now.
Indeed it is, Joe. Indeed it is. Sounds like we will have the Browns are having this meeting at 2 o'clock. I would imagine sometime at the bottom of that second hour, it sounds like we will get the official announcement as to who the Browns interim head coach will be. So we'll find that out and obviously have that for you here live on CBD.
Joe, you did mention Al Saunders there, and you said that would make the most logical sense. What led you to that conclusion, or just because the fact that there weren't not many other guys out there?
I was going to say, well, Todd Haley's not an option anymore.
Right.
But, no, I think when I thought about that, first of all, Al Saunders is very well respected in that building throughout the NFL. He's got a lot of experience as a manager, as a coach. I believe he was a head coach, but I can't remember exactly.
Yes, in the 70s for the Chargers.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Good. So he's got experience in that role. And I would say the reason you maybe wouldn't want to go with Greg Williams right now is because sometimes when you promote a guy, now they feel like they're auditioning as the head coach, and they're still trying to manage and run their defense. And I think by and large, everyone's been really happy with the job Greg Williams has done as a defensive coordinator. So you don't want to put too much on his plate right now. You still want to kind of let him focus on being that defensive coordinator. And without having to put too much on his plate right now, it would make sense because Al Saunders also is not splitting time between running backs or quarterback or all these other positions. He could easily step in from offensive senior assistant, become the head coach, get the respect of that room, get this team headed in the right direction, keep everybody focused, manage those coaches with the least amount of disruption to everybody's normal day-to-day. And that's kind of why I thought that it would make sense just initially thinking about it.
All right, Joe, thank you for your time, buddy. We do appreciate your expertise on a wild Monday here in Berea.
All right, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Joe Thomas's appearances on CBD each week, brought to you by Elk and Elk. Every single Monday we have Joe on. This was a different one, certainly, than most are. Zenith's mission to help athletes pursue their game with confidence, designing helmets and protective gear for athletes' needs, wants, and the demands of the sport. Learn more at zenith.com. That is zenith.com. Al Saunders or Greg Williams. I still think that there's that's really the two that it would be. And I think we'll probably find out within the hour who that is and what the organization's plan is going forward. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by the voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan.
Hey, it's Emmett from my team at Liberty Ford. With 6 locations,
Do you guys want to do a short segment, or you want me to stack here?
of new vehicles that are on sale now. And right now, you can get great lease specials with 0 money down on F-150s, Escapes, or you can purchase with 0% APR financing. Visit LibertyFord.com for details. At Liberty, there's always
Fontana, you there?
I was just going to text you,
Yeah, do you want to just combo here?
Yeah, I was going to say, you want me to stack, and then we'll come back with Donovan?
Yeah, just tell Jim we're going to come to him a little bit early.
Is he in studio or calling?
No, he's calling.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe he's here.
Subject to state availability, issue limitations, and contract distance. Visit USAA.com.
We're stepping away for just a
Hi
second.
again, everybody. Tom Houston here. And by now you've heard about Northeast Factory Direct, right? 2 warehouses filled with high-quality furniture, hot tubs, kitchen cabinets, and more for about half of what you'd pay at retail. And you know how they do it. They don't have a fancy showroom. They buy in volume, keep overhead low, and pass the savings on to you. If you need any of these things, what are you waiting for? Get to Northeast Factory Direct, East Side, West Side, or NortheastFactoryDirect.com. Tell them I sent you and get the extra special hammy hookup.
The Cavs and Molina remind you, don't miss your shot. Medicaid open enrollment ends November 30th. Choose Molina. Call 866-731-5723 to enroll now.
It's October, and we are scaring up a huge sale all month long only at Rick Case Honda or Rick Case Hyundai. We're the only dealership that doubles the factory warranty to 100,000 miles on new Hondas and 200,000 miles on new Hyundais. We're located off of I-90 on East 200th Street or rickcase.com.
Call or text 888-99-AKRON or visit GoZips.com for tickets.
I'm Joe.
That's future Hall of Famer Joe Thomas.
And I'm all about protection. And I like things that are durable and reliable. So go with windows from Universal Windows Direct. They're backed by a true lifetime warranty, so you're protected for as long as you own your home and 30 years to the next homeowner. Right now, for every window you buy, you get the next window free and 0% financing for 36 months. Call today for the last window you'll ever need. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Universal Windows Direct.
On time and under budget. If you're a contractor or builder, these are 2 phrases that are critical. Accomplish these and you'll grow your business to new heights. It starts with your equipment, which is why you need to start with Lepo Rents, the leading equipment rental company for Northeast Ohio. Lepo Rents ensures that your machines are ready to go when the day begins, day in and day out. They've been in business for over 70 years and are an authorized Bobcat, JLG, and Hydro Mobile dealer. With 6 Northeast Ohio locations, there's a Lepo Rents nearby. Online at lepos.com, that's LEPPOS.com.
University Hospitals is dedicated to your health. As the largest healthcare network in the region, we're happy to accept every major health plan in Northeast Ohio. Everyone can access all UH campuses.
I'll be right back.
4,000 dedicated physicians in over 200 locations. University Hospitals, advancing the science of health and the art of compassion. To schedule an appointment, call 866-844-2273.
Hey, Phil, check out my new man cave.
You mean your new 2018 Ford F-150?
Yep, best place to enjoy the Browns game.
Wow, sweet.
It's got plenty of in-cab storage for my snacks and coolers, even an outlet for the TV.
Cool.
And back here, integrated tailgate step, which makes it easier to get to this.
What is that?
A self-feeding portable chili trough.
A perfect man cave for a perfect caveman.
You know it.
High five.
Ford, proud partner of the Cleveland Browns.
Play $10, get $10. Register for the Club Jack loyalty program this month. Wager $10 on your favorite machine at Jack Thistledown Racino, and we'll award you $10 in free play. Check your email for your offer, and that's it. You may also be eligible for a number of additional offers. Don't miss out. Sign up today and start earning. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. Must be 18 or older for pari-mutuel wagering. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Where I'm From Apparel has teamed up with your Cleveland Browns starting quarterback Baker Mayfield to create an awesome and unique line of officially licensed tees, long sleeves, and hoodies. The Baker Mayfield apparel is available online at whereimfrom.com and at Where I'm From store locations throughout Northeast and Central Ohio, including South Park Mall, Beechwood Place, Belden Village Mall, Polaris Fashion Place, and more. Got a Baker fan on your holiday list this year? Check out all of the Baker Mayfield apparel at whereimfrom.com.
Here's the thing about cut-rate health insurance. Sometimes what you think you're getting isn't at all what you get. CareSource is real health insurance. Our marketplace plans give you complete and affordable benefits. You don't have to worry about pre-existing conditions or limited coverage. So enroll or switch by December 15th with CareSource. Visit caresource.com/marketplace.
CareSource policies have exclusions, limitations, and reductions of benefits. Costs may vary based upon individual circumstances. For complete details of cost and coverage, visit caresource.com.
Don't look now, but it's that time again. Flu season is about to rear its coughing, sneezing, aching, feverish head. Discount Drug Mart believes that the best defense is a good offense. Protect yourself and your loved ones in just minutes from the flu bug, the safe, convenient way with a flu shot from Discount Drug Mart Pharmacy. No appointment is necessary, and most insurance plans are accepted with a zero copay for most Medicare, Medicaid, and several private plans. The flu can end with you at Discount Drug Mart, open 7 days a week, including holidays. See pharmacy for details.
Before you can cheer on,
All right, guys, back in a minute here.
you have to get game day ready. You handle the face paint and let Sugardale Hot Dogs be the star at your next tailgate. Sugardale, located right here in Northeast Ohio, has been supplying American-made bacon, ham, pepperoni, deli meats, and your favorite tailgating hot dogs for nearly 100 years. Be sure to look for the official hot dog of your Cleveland Browns at your local grocery store. Sugardale, a proud partner of the Cleveland Browns.
Have you ever wanted the opportunity to travel with the Browns for a road game, including staying in the team hotel, going on the field during pregame warm-ups, and great seats? What about upgrading your tickets for a Browns home game to a club or suite, or scoring Browns autographed merchandise? Log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com and enter today for your chance to win these items and more. There's always something new every week. For a complete list of Browns contests and promotions, go to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com.
Emmett Golden and Gerard Cherry. Weekdays at 3 on your home.
All right, guys, we're coming back. Donovan's ready to go.
Okay.
WKNR Cleveland.
And I will be with you for this hour if you guys need anything. So.
Thanks, buddy.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN 850 WKNR.
You guys are up.
CBD, KNR, Bo and Nathan, the independently owned and operated Papa John's franchise owners, are proud to partner with your Cleveland Browns. Visit one of the 53 Northeast Ohio Papa John's stores and order the Dog Pound Deluxe or customize a pizza just the way you like it. Make Papa John's part of your Cleveland Browns game day tradition. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. Of course, we are always presented by Jack, and Jack invites guests 55 or older to our Prime Players Tuesdays throughout September. Swipe your Club Jack card at any Jack kiosk to receive your free lottery ticket. Prime Players also receive 20% off at select Racino dining outlets. And with that, we bring on the voice of the Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan. Jimmy, thanks for taking the time on a busy Monday here, obviously, and a lot going on today. The firing of Hue Jackson, followed by the firing of Todd Haley. There was some conjecture that one or the other. It ends up being both. What is your perception of what's gone on down here on a Monday?
Well, I thought that, Bo, I thought that we were beyond days like this, especially in the middle of a season. I thought that those were times that we had passed and that we were on a different course. And I, too, thought it would be an either-or situation if we were going to hit this loggerhead of, somebody's got to go. I thought one would stay, one would go. I didn't think that both would go on the same day. So it's surprising. It's unsettling because when you think about it, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, just a great turnaround in a team with nothing but positives after they had knocked off Baltimore. And when Doug and I were with you and Nathan on Thursday, we were talking about all you got to do is go over here on Sunday to Pittsburgh and win the game, and it turns everything around. And, of course, that didn't happen, and now everything has turned around, but in a very different way.
Jim, the move of both, to me, sends a very clear signal, and not reinventing the wheel with this, but a very clear signal that this organization will be shaped with John Dorsey having a heavy hand. And I wonder, Jim, if this has as much to do about some of the press conference, the public back and forth that Todd and Hue did, as much as about the performance on the field with the offense.
Yeah, Bo, I think it did. I really do. I mean, I think it played out that way, and I think it really came to a head probably just a little over a week ago in Tampa after the overtime loss to the Bucs, and Hue coming out and publicly, in the press conference, no matter how anybody wrote it, I mean, it was really out there, that he was upset with the way the offense was being run, and to the point where he gave indications that he was going to get involved. At what level that was going to be decided last week. And then he had to really kind of walk that back on Monday, kind of in the category of upon further review, it was emotional, and I was emotional after a loss. And then Thursday, I think that, I thought it had settled down a little bit when Todd Haley had come out and really kind of given a Bill Parcellism kind of press conference when he said, listen, young players, you just got to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you grind, and then at some point it starts to work. I was comforted leaving there Thursday afternoon that, okay, it looks like everything's all set. It was just press conference stuff. But if there was a determination after the game yesterday, or while, the people in power were watching the game yesterday, that the back and forth sniping or discontent led to a very, very poor performance on the field, and it had leaked out onto the field, then that would give you the impression that they said, listen, we got to change this. That would be, and now I'm just kind of painting that picture, but that would be something that I would take a look at and say, if they feel that went too far as the language went, and then it leaked out onto the field for a real clunker of a performance over at Heinz Field, then that's why I think we're where we are right now.
Jimmy, I just wonder, I think, even before all of this came out today, and as I got done watching the game on Sunday, I just thought to myself, boy, all that matters is Baker. Like, we have to make sure that this guy who's the number 1 overall pick, who you and I are both very fond of his play among millions around here, and you feel like he could be everything that you want him to be, like, all that really matters is that he is put in the best position to succeed long term, and that he must be nurtured and brought along at the right pace and all of these things. And I just wonder with both, if you have to wonder if John Dorsey said, I can't have this around him, the discourse between the two. Yeah. And maybe it was just a whole lot worse than even we were led to believe in terms of what we saw in the last week or so in the press.
Yeah, really the most adult part of the whole thing was kind of what Mayfield said at his Wednesday meeting with the media when he said, hey, listen, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We just have to execute better. But I would say this, Bo, both physically and mentally yesterday, when I looked at him in his press conference after the game, he looked a little bit beaten down. I don't mean to be, dramatic here. He looked pretty beaten down, though. He looked beaten down physically, and I could see why, and anybody that watched the game could see why he took a beating in the game. But mentally, he looked very, very frustrated. And it hit me, even on the bus ride home, that I'm saying, gosh, the thing you worry about here, that we've worried about with so many of these young players who have come in from big-time winning programs in college, that the losing starts to really affect them. It's a new thing to them because they've probably been on great high school teams, and we've watched them in great college bowl situations and championship game situations. Now they come here, and the immediacy of the losing hits them, but how do they handle it? But when it keeps hitting them, you worry that it really bothers them, and it affects them to the point where it becomes chronic. And that's what I was looking at and worrying about yesterday when I watched Mayfield and listened to Mayfield after that game.
Yeah, and obviously, Jim, there, in terms of how this is going to look over the last 8, the most stable position that Baker Mayfield can be put in is the one that they will be put in, because my guess is it's John Dorsey's wish that it is so, and so it will be so. I get the feeling that Greg Williams will probably be the guy who's at the top of this, and I think that's a pretty easy sell. Let me just run this theory by you. One thing that Greg has is he has a defensive group that believes in him, and the players love him, and if he can just put that at the top of the organization, I mean, this would be an interim thing, obviously, but that there's a chance for some success there, because we still have to play 8 games, and oh, by the way, the Chiefs are here on Sunday.
Yeah, that you're right. I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, it's going to be a very, very difficult situation because a lot is going to have to be done over on the offensive side to make sure that Baker Mayfield and that offense, which is struggling anyway, is going to be able to contend and play starting Sunday. I mean, you would go into that game saying, hey, listen, if we're going to be in the game at all, we're going to have to score. And yesterday we saw, you can't trade field goals with them scoring touchdowns. And we know by what we're seeing with Kansas City, they score touchdowns, and they score a lot of them. So, I mean, just on the outside looking in for that game, I mean, you have to look in and say, wow, I mean, can they get this thing straightened out and in a cohesive manner by Sunday afternoon against a really good team that is hitting on the highest cylinders that people have seen in the NFL in a long time? That's debatable whether that can be done. I don't know if humanly that can be done. As far as the administrative part of things, you're right. Greg Williams, you know, he's a head coach before, probably because his gang is 2 years into what the system is there, maybe that, you know, and his coaching staff has remained a lot more intact than over on the offensive side. He can trust people over there to handle that, and maybe he'll be able to handle it himself and handle the interim situation too. And it would be a logical choice. It would be the one that you would look at as, you know, you look at coordinators, and you've already gotten rid of the offensive coordinator. He's the last one kind of standing, minus the special teams coordinator. So I don't know. Bo, I have to tell you, I just really this is an amazing day that I in no way saw that we were going to be talking about this kind of a scenario and this kind of a chaotic scenario in this season, the way the season started out and how we went through the summer and those wins over the Jets and you know, and the win over Baltimore and all of the other competitive games before that.
Yet here we are, Jim, and as you know, it's been, for me, 6 years here. It's been a little crazy. You've seen even more in your time there. I think you guys are both right. Greg Williams, to me, seems to be the only logical choice as the interim head coach for this football team, because plucking somebody from, you know, whether it would be Al Saunders, who does have experience, but going from, you know, assistant tight end coach to head coach, it just makes sense. And the defense, by the way, has been performing at a high level, leading the league in takeaways so far this year. But do you think the fact that it was a boom, that they both went to you, does that say that things are maybe different here than they have been in the past, Jim?
Well, yeah, I think that, I think so. I think that you have a general manager now that he's got a lot, he's got a chip in the game. He's got a lot of chips in the game. He thinks he's really taken on a job that he's turned around and improved the roster. And I think that, you know, if he's got a coaching situation that is not fluid as far as people getting along, and he's got a prized commodity in Baker Mayfield, along with all the other young players. I mean, Nick Chubb too, and, you know, a lot of other young players that he's brought in here, as well as, you know, free agents that he's brought in here. I mean, he's got to make a change, and it's got to be direct. And, you know, the thing, Nathan, would be that, you know, I think when you're looking at this kind of a situation and you're starting to see things really crumble, and 3 losses in a row, it's starting to crumble with what's ahead, too, coming up on the schedule. It looks like it's going to be difficult, and you might be in that situation. So you have 2 stops, the bye week and then at the end of the season. The end of the season, you know, you in a perfect situation, you say, all right, we're going to let those coordinators do their thing for the remainder of the year. But obviously this must have been to the point where this was not going to work, you know, anymore. And it wasn't going to work today, and it wasn't going to work tomorrow, so they ended it today. And so, yeah, it's much more direct and impactful and sudden, because it mustn't have been something that was going to be able to go along, that we were going to be able to live with this much past what we did today.
You know, one thing about, if it is Greg, is in the interim for both of you guys, Nathan, you too, is just the, you know, like there's never been a lack of buy-in defensively. I mean, this is going to be a tough 8-game stretch over the rest of this season as this thing plays out, when you think about what's happened offensively. And I think that could be a big, if it is Greg, I think that's a big part of why it would be, because of the we know his players love him, and we know how good that side of the ball, when it comes to motivating and those things, you feel like that's a natural for Greg going forward. And the most important thing for John Dorsey and for the Haslam's, for the organization, is that you get something. You have half a season left, Jim. I mean, you got to get a lot out of this last 8 games of this season.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you really do, and you have the opportunity, especially, you know. Well, you know, John Dorsey's got the opportunity now. I mean, he knows the landscape, and he knows what he has to do. We're not sitting and saying, okay, how many more games does Hue have to win to remain on as the head coach of the team? We know that's over now. That's done, and that book is closed. So now, you know, he's more direct in that he's got to look at the landscape of, what am I going to do as far as the head coach is concerned? But, yes, we have a lot of season left, still with a lot of things that we want to get accomplished in this season. And we had talked about this before on our Thursday discussions. We've talked about, hey, listen, he came in, he being John Dorsey, let's be competitive this year. Let's win some games. But it's really next year and what's going to happen beyond that.
Yep.
We're still building this thing. And you still have 8 weeks of work that you get done, and you're going to have, a lot of young players getting a lot of experience. And you want them to have that experience to be in a very productive way rather than in a way where it just becomes a bad situation for everybody and you're dreading Sundays rolling around. We've been in that situation before.
Yes, we certainly have been, and obviously for the Browns, this is an interesting one. Adam Schefter, by the way, reporting that sources telling he and Mort report that, in fact, Greg Williams will be named the interim head coach for the Cleveland Browns. On the play calling side of things, I think you really have two choices. And, one would be Ken Zampese, who's the quarterback's coach, but was also the offensive coordinator briefly with the Bengals a year ago. The other would be Freddie Kitchens. Kitchens is more in the Bruce Arians, Todd Haley school, was the quarterback coach for the Cardinals from 2013 to 16, working with Carson Palmer there in those very good Bruce Arians offenses, and is now here as the running back coach and associate head coach. As I mentioned earlier, he did get to call plays in that final preseason game against Detroit, which obviously was a very successful one with Baker. In fact, it was the first time the Browns had scored on 3 straight possessions since, I think, back beating the Chargers, since they beat the Chargers back in 16 at that moment. So that will be interesting. How do you kind of see that one shaking out, Jim? And, what do you think is for Baker? Because to me, all these questions is what's best for Baker? And what do you think that answer is?
Well, I know that they were talking about, and Todd Haley was very, very effusive about the quarterback room and how it was really functioning well, the people in it. Now, this is where, Nathan, this is where Tyrod Taylor and Drew Stanton will become very, very important too. And I'm sure that they've been doing their job anyway. But they're going to become even more important because, that's why they really definitely brought Stanton in, right? That they were definitely going to bring him in. And he was going to be a player-type coach for Baker Mayfield. And we, of course, originally we thought that was going to be to help him watch the games, and now he's in there and he's playing all the time. So, but I know that they were very effusive about the quarterback room and that Ken Zampese, they never wanted to leave him out of the discussion. There was Todd Haley, and he would always say, the room is good. Ken's doing a great job with Baker Mayfield, and that's very important. They have to do a great job with Baker Mayfield. Freddie Kitchens, he's a tough guy. I go back to that, he was involved in that meeting. Let's face it, that famous meeting, that excerpt from that initial Hard Knocks when, he was questioning the Browns' practice methods and players getting days off and getting too many days off and not enough accountability. He was right there with Todd Haley on that. And, that would be very, very interesting. I think you're right in how he aligns in your characterization of him, of Haley, Bruce Arians, that kind of coming out of that tree and, out of that background. So I don't know. It's, wow, what a day.
It certainly has been.
Amazing. Yeah, what a day.
Nathan, I think you touched on this in the first hour, and you talked about Kitchens, and then if you add that to Joe's comments about Baker Mayfield, new verbiage and all of that, Kitchens is a straight line.
Kitchens is a straight line
for the last eight games would allow for the straight line.
Kitchens was brought here because Todd Haley wanted him on his staff, and that's why he's running backs coach and associate head coach, because you must leave for an upgraded position. He held the title of running back coach for Arizona in 2017, so that's how the Browns were able to get him. I think in terms of just offensive philosophy, now at the same point we could all say, listen, the Browns offense has been stagnant and if not regressing in the last couple of weeks, but it would make a lot of sense to me if it were Kitchens that ends up getting the nod as the current offensive coordinator, with Greg Williams being the interim head coach as being now widely reported. And it's something that we talked about in hour number 1. Made a lot more sense to us than perhaps Al Saunders, which was a name that had been out there. But Greg Williams will be your interim head coach, and I'm sure we'll find out shortly who will, in fact, be your offensive coordinator. But if I had to think of, for Baker Mayfield's sake, and again, this is what I'm thinking. It's all about what is the best for Baker, because let's be realistic, Jim, you're going to have, I would say, a 99% chance a new offensive coordinator next year. So keep the guy that keeps this the same, and if you're able to do that, and I believe that's Freddie Kitchens that does that the best, then you'll keep Baker at least on one path for now before you put him on a new path for his second season.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Nathan. I would also say this, from a media standpoint, we will now not have to wait until Friday at noon for Greg Williams to appear before the media and
Yep.
will become
as the interim head coach of the team. That is going to be worth the price of admission in there.
Yeah. All right. Jimmy, we really appreciate you, buddy. You've been here a long time. Appreciate your input. You are the voice of not just the Browns, but the fans as well, and we thank you for your insight today on a Monday.
Okay, guys.
All right, so here is where we sit. Before I do that, let me do this. Brown fans join Sugardale at Market District in Strongsville Tuesday, 11 to 1. Free samples of the official hot dog of the Cleveland Browns. Get an autograph from the legendary Kevin Mack. That's tomorrow from 11 to 1 at Market District in Strongsville. All right, so here is where we sit at, what is this, 2:16 on a Monday. We have Hue Jackson relieved of duties as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Todd Haley removed of duties as offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. Reports are that Greg Williams will be the interim head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and that Kitchens will be your offensive coordinator. That's kind of us connecting dots on the last one, just in terms of what makes the most sense, and we're trying to get into the motivation of the move and the removal of both Hue and also Todd, and I think very clearly it is twofold. Number one, it is we will have a singular voice in this organization, and the organization's voice will be one with a heavy hand from John Dorsey in terms of the football operations. And number two, the future of Baker Mayfield is paramount, and taking care of him is most critical, which leads us to the Kitchens conclusion, because he will not have to learn new verbiage, and Kitchens obviously has already coordinated that offense, as you so astutely pointed out in the first hour, and as Joe said, would almost be impossible to go another way. I've seen a lot of reporting that the team has been addressed on this, and we can say that has happened as well. So that is where we are on a Monday, and it's a lot to try to process here.
Yes, it is a lot to process, and we know that the meeting took place because we saw John Dorsey and the ownership of the Browns, Jimmy D. Haslam, J.W. Johnson, all go down there. Elliott Wolf address the players. That happened around 2 o'clock, and we will we'll let you know. But I would say right now the reports are interim head coach is Greg Williams, the Browns' current defense coordinator, now interim head coach, and then on calling the plays going forward, I expect will be Freddie Kitchens, who came over as a running back coach and associate head coach, former starting quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide from 1995 to 1997. Most recently, quarterback coach of Arizona from 2013 to 2016 was their running backs coach a year ago. So a guy who worked very closely with Carson Palmer down there and knows what it's like to work with number one picks. We've seen the development of Nick Chubb in this backfield, and now we will see how that looks going forward, most likely with Kitchens calling the plays, kind of continuing, at least for the sake of Baker, continuity in terms of your verbiage and coming from the same kind of offensive philosophy tree.
Yeah, and I think Greg as interim was always the clear choice and the smart choice when you think about, you got 8 games to go. So you got to have everybody – you have to have effort. You have to get something out of these games. And Greg is a guy who players respond to. I do a morning show with James Laurinaitis, who still just absolutely adores Greg from his time there. And anytime I would ask him about, when seasons were going south, how did Greg keep it together? And he said that was never a problem. That was never a problem with him. So motivation shouldn't be a problem with this team as they have to try to spend the last 8 games of this season getting the young players on this roster to a point where they can thrive and grow and continue to take the next step. Let's remember this is a team that starts 4 rookies on the offensive side alone, 6 rookies in total. It's a 60% roster turnover from last season to this, and it's an incredible roster turnover even from August to where we are right now. If to say 8 weeks later, this is where we sit, none of us would have believed that when you and I were doing shows in August that we'd be sitting here.
No. You had a different wide receiver room. You had a different quarterback room. You had a different running back room. You had a different coach. You had a different coordinator. The turnover here has been massive, by the way. Mary Kay and others now reporting that Freddie Kitchens will indeed be named the Browns' offensive coordinator, as we kind of alluded to you here on CBD.
I believe we had that,
we have alluded that to you. So no surprise there, and obviously they've decided that is the best course of action to keep Baker Mayfield with the coordinator who most will have the similar verbiage, offensive philosophy, et cetera, to everything he's been doing. As Baker said a couple weeks ago, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. This offense will stay similar. Now, we all hope that the production gets better because we haven't even touched on what we saw yesterday, but I thought the performance in the second half of the offense, in addition to the infighting, is what contributed to today's actions. When you go well into the fourth quarter, 9 minutes and 32 seconds left on the fourth quarter, and you've had negative 1 yard of offense in that half.
Nathan, beyond that, just if you think about what Baker was the first couple of games, my friend, and how comfortable he was to what it ended up yesterday in Pittsburgh.
That was as bad of Browns offense as I've seen, and I've seen some horrific.
Yeah, you and I were texting
Browns
about that.
offenses. And at first you're like, "That's crazy. You can't say things like that." And then you came back. You're like, "I don't know." We went negative on more than 50% of our plays in the second half prior to the drive when the game was out of reach. So, part of it is too that teams get tape on you. They identify what your weaknesses are, and unless you can develop a counterpunch to that, it's going to be tough for you. And the Browns right now lack the playmakers on the offensive side of the football. They lack, wide receiver is a very difficult position for them. But now, at least going forward, one thing we know about Greg Williams and about his defenses and the players, when you talk to them, as you mentioned with Laurinaitis, he will hold them accountable. There will be a culture of accountability and great detail-orientedness.
We have an official statement now from the Cleveland Browns. The Browns on Monday relieved Hue Jackson of his duties as head coach. This is a quote from Dee and Jimmy Haslam, the owners. "We greatly appreciate Hue's commitment to the Browns organization over the last 2.5 years. They say in a statement, we understand how critical this time period is in the development of our football team individually and collectively, and believed it was in the organization's best interest to make the move at this time in order to maximize our opportunities the rest of the season. We certainly only wish Hue, Michelle, and his family the best moving forward," end quote. Defensive coordinator Greg Williams, a 27-year coaching veteran with head coaching experience, was named the interim head coach. The Browns also dismissed offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Running backs coach, associate head coach Freddie Kitchens will serve as offensive coordinator. Jackson, the 16th full-time Browns head coach in franchise history, 336-1 in his 2.5 years. Jimmy Haslam and Browns general manager John Dorsey will meet the media at 4:30 here in Berea. So there is the full statement there.
Yes, and I would expect Greg Williams to continue to run the defense. I don't think that that's going to change for him. Obviously, he is now your head coach, so we will take on some more duties going forward. Freddie Kitchens, as we said, this is the best. I think it's the best decision for Baker Mayfield in terms of keeping things consistent for him, keeping things on the path that they were on. We all would agree we need more production on that path. But this at least will not make him try to relearn an offense, relearn verbiage, relearn route concepts, etc. It will be very much what it was. And I realize it was the fourth preseason game, but one good news is that we had Freddie Kitchens go ahead and call plays in that fourth preseason game. By the way, a game started by Baker, and they got into a pretty good rhythm today here. And then we've got a nice guest coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, Chris Mortensen will join us at 2:30 with his view of all of this on a very, very busy day in Berea. If you're going to see the Browns at First Energy Stadium, well, now with Park Mobile, you can easily reserve a parking spot before you head to the game. So you drive right to the lot of a guaranteed spot waiting for you. You can make a parking reservation on the clevelandbrowns.parkmobile.io website. That's clevelandbrowns.parkmobile.io. Just find your game, select your lot, reserve your spot, discover a smarter way for Cleveland Browns games at First Energy Stadium. Visit clevelandbrowns.parkmobile.io. Coming up next, we'll be joined by ESPN NFL insider Chris Mortensen here on CBD 850 WKNR.
This segment brought to you by State Farm.
All right, I'm going to stack. We'll get Mortensen on the line.
Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. Sponsored by State Farm.
It's October, and we are scaring up a huge sale all month long only at Rick Case Honda or Rick Case Hyundai. We're the only dealership that doubles the factory warranty to 100,000 miles on new Hondas and 200,000 miles on new Hyundais. We're located off of I-90 on East 200th Street or rickcase.com.
Hey, it's Emmett from my team at Liberty Ford. With 6 locations of inventory to choose from, visit libertyford.com and check out our massive selection of new vehicles that are on sale now. And right now, you can get great lease specials with 0 money down on F-150s, Escapes, or you can purchase with 0% APR financing. Visit libertyford.com for details. At Liberty, there's always a sale.
Liberty's in Aurora, Maple Heights, Canton, Palmer Heights, Brunswick, Vermilion.
Indeed knows it's hard to find qualified candidates when you're hiring.
It's like finding a unicorn.
But when you post your job on Indeed, it's easy to find people with the skills you need.
Nurse practitioner, 4+ years experience, acute care certification.
Indeed has a huge pool of amazing candidates and screener tools that help you find your most qualified applicants.
Whoa, an entire short list of unicorns.
See why more than 3 million companies worldwide use Indeed to hire. Post your job at Indeed.com/hire. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Source.com score total visits.
There's nothing small about your business. Your passion, your hours, your reputation, it's all huge. Your partnerships, even bigger. With Dell Small Business Technology Advisors, you'll get the tech, advice, and one-on-one partnership to help your business grow. Because with reliable Dell PCs with Intel Core processors, you can focus on what matters most, getting business done. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Parker's Downtown is a perfect place for a pregame dinner or cocktail. Just steps from the queue inside the Kimpton Schofield Hotel. Valet your car at Parker's and you're a short walk to the arena. Come early for happy hour and enjoy half off the delicious bar food menu, $3 craft beers, $5 wines, and $6 cocktails. Parker's offers a diverse dining menu featuring locally sourced, fresh ingredients. Stop by Parker's at East 9th and Euclid before or after your next event. Check us out at parkersdowntown.com. That's parkersdowntown.com.
Call or text 888-99-AKRON or visit gozips.com for tickets.
The Galleria at Erie View is a beautiful facility home to unique offerings like Cleveland's new downtown YMCA, an assortment of dining and retail, a state-of-the-art conference center, a heated parking garage, and spectacular views. The Galleria's dramatic glass barrel vaulted roof is one of Cleveland's architectural highlights. Located on the corner of East 9th and St. Clair, the Galleria provides tenants, visitors, and the community with direct access to amenities within the Cleveland Central Business District. Visit GalleriaandTower.com today.
Hey, it's Matt Fontana for Sleepiphany. When it comes to mattresses, one size does not fit all. Other mattress companies try to make you believe what they created is the perfect mattress, but they really didn't. With Sleepiphany, you get unprecedented adjustability, empowering you to take control of your sleep and change your life. It's 5 easy steps. Order your mattress, it ships right to your house, place it on a flat, firm surface, unfold, expand, and enjoy it. Try it today, sleepiphany.com. That's sleep, IPHANY.com.
Play $10, get $10. Register for the Club Jack loyalty program this month. Wager $10 on your favorite machine at Jack Thistledown Racino, and we'll award you $10 in free play. Check your email for your offer, and that's it. You may also be eligible for a number of additional offers. Don't miss out. Sign up today and start earning. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. Must be 18 or older for pari-mutuel wagering. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Yeah. We're here at the Browns game with Sarah and a half dozen other Little Browns fans.
Little Browns fans?
Folks, it's been a day.
Folks, man, it has been a day. Man. Folks. That was supposed to be a folks. That was a folks. That was a folks. That was a folks. Folks. It was trying to be folks. Just like, man, what is going on? Like,
would you say?
What a day.
Unstoppable? I would, but you already said it. Ford, a proud partner of the Cleveland Browns.
I've seen a lot of days.
At University Hospital's great minds are pioneering new ways to care for your heart.
Never in the middle of the season.
Harrington Heart and Vascular Institute, experts are providing breakthrough cardiac procedures, from valve replacements done while patients are awake to heart interventions performed on babies before they're born, working to improve the health and life of every person who needs it. Make an appointment at uhhospitals.org or call 844-229-7994. University Hospital.
All right, guys, Mort is ready to go. We're back here in a minute.
Thanks, buddy.
About cut rate.
Romeo was mid-season.
Isn't at all what you get.
Well, Rabisky coached at one point.
CareSource is real health insurance. Our marketplace plans give you complete and affordable benefits. You don't have to worry about pre-existing conditions or limited coverage. So enroll or switch by December 15th with CareSource. Visit caresource.com/marketplace.
CareSource policies have exclusions, limitations, and reductions of benefits. Costs may vary based upon individual circumstances. For complete details of cost and coverage, visit caresource.com.
Hurry to Value City Furniture, your new reclining destination. With the best and largest selection of power reclining furniture, we have just the spot for you to kick back on game days or any day. Come experience our newest reclining styles with sleek designs, unique comfort core cushions, plus all the latest in high-tech power motion technology and features. It's the perfect time to relax and enjoy the big game in style and comfort. Shop Value City Furniture today and online at vcf.com.
Families and team members depend on their players to be healthy and ready to play. When a family member gets injured, it can be a real game changer, leaving a family without a key player.
The best game plan can be found in a place where trust is earned and help is given. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO and let us help you get back in the game. Elk and Elk, proud partner of the Cleveland Browns.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN 850 WKNR.
You guys are up.
CBD 850 WKNR, Bo Bishop, Nathan Zagura. There are few better at their job than this man is at his, and this is Chris Mortensen, ESPN, joining us. Mort, obviously a very busy day in Berea. What we can extrapolate from this, though, very clearly is that John Dorsey had enough of a lot of things and is the man who will be really having a heavy hand in the future of this organization. How do you view it from your vantage point, sir?
Well, in my opinion, and good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
And this is strictly my opinion. Yeah, I mean, John Dorsey should have a heavy hand in determining, the next coach of the Browns. But, the owner, Jimmy Haslam, and Dee Haslam, owners always end up being the ones who say, yes, this is the right person. Or, John, you go ahead and you go through the process. We're going to be included, because the owners have to feel good about the head coach. I've seen very few head coaches hired in the last 10 years where the owner was not heavily involved. But trusting that the GM is going to bring the right candidates and has identified the traits that they want in that head coach. And included in that is really still the examination of a roster that you don't think fits. And I think when John Dorsey came on board, and I'm a big John Dorsey believer, when he said, not the right guys or not enough talent, all those things may be true, but it's also assembling a roster of players who want to be there, who will fall under the culture of the coach that the Browns are going to select. But the thing this morning, just to back up a little bit, with all the noise about Todd Haley and all that, and Hue, the dysfunction, the bottom line is what didn't make sense is we're going to fire Todd Haley and Hue will take over as the play caller again. That's the one that didn't make sense. So it was more or less I know Adam Schefter and I were talking it through this morning. Well, if Todd's going, Hugh's going to go. And then and obviously things are continuing to play out.
So, Mort, can you kind of take us through?
Probably confused you even more there, didn't I?
Well, and I'll give you the setup to help us. Just kind of take us through the timeline of what happened today, because for us, for Bo and I, we're doing the show. We knew the Hue Jackson thing at 1 o'clock, and we're on air at 1:05, and we got kind of blindsided by the Todd Haley news. So, kind of take us through the timeline. What happened, from the beginning of the day till the point where here we are, Greg Williams is your interim coach and Freddie Kitchens is your new offensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, I was on SportsCenter, talking about the speculation that was rolling about Al Saunders being the interim head coach, and Greg Williams is going to be the interim head coach. So, we all get caught up in all of it. The timeline, I can't give you a specific timeline, but I know that we were on alert for Todd Haley when we woke up this morning, or as of yesterday. But certainly this morning, we had a stronger indication there was going to be a change.
Okay.
And then it was just a matter. So at 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m., we believe that Hue Jackson was ready to make a change at the play caller. We have not confirmed that was going to be the case. But we do know that that at some point Jimmy Haslam and John Dorsey came together and decided, listen, we need to go in a different direction at the head coach level. So we have to start this with the head coach because there's a lot of things that aren't going in the direction we want it to. They look like there was some improvement, hasn't been as good in the last 3 or 4 games. Sloppiness, the culture. You can't go 3-36-1, which Hugh has been. Yep. You can't have the 0-20 road record, expect to survive that. And, oh, by the way, if you know that this is not going to be your coach, you should know by now midseason in 2019. Do it now, and that's what we believe the timeline came to it this morning. We're going to do Hugh first, then we'll have some sequence to it, which is Hugh, and then the interim head coach, Greg Williams, and then the offensive coordinator out, Todd Haley. And so that's the sequence of events as we understand it. But you're really making that decision because you're saying, okay, we know Hue Jackson's not going to be our head coach in 2019. We have to send a message to the players in the locker room because we want to evaluate them too as we go forward, as we're picking a new coach. And now you don't have to kind of sleuth behind the scenes and, getting that list going of potential head coach candidates. You can do it at a very honest level of integrity in terms of how you conduct your next coach search.
Mort, one thing that I think benefited John Dorsey from a great deal, he had a pretty good offseason, obviously, with his draft and what he's been able to do in trades and free agency, was he got a jump start. He gets a jump start here as well. There's one head coaching position open in the NFL at the moment, and he's going to have a lot of time along with the Haslams to kind of sort that out as they go to try to find, the next direction for this franchise. What do you've said you're a Dorsey guy, and it's easy to be one. I mean, it's infectious around here. His attitude is the way that he goes about his business. But how do you think he will conduct this process? I mean, the draft was silent, with Baker at the top. There was nothing coming out of it. How do you think that he'll go about this process along with the Haslams?
Yeah, but even though we knew by late March that Dorsey wasn't hiding his fondness for Baker Mayfield. You kind of knew it. Then his job at that point was to build a consensus. Just as they will work through the head coach process, he certainly wants to bring a guy that, okay, he has his idea. John Dorsey has his list of candidates somewhere on a slip of paper in case they had to make a move. All GMs have those lists. And then it's a matter of, okay, now you have to conduct that thorough, detailed search and have a process. But you're not going to name a coach in November, not going to name one in December. You're going to wait sometime in, January. And you want a coach, by the way, first and foremost, that is going to have the traits that you like, which, knowing John, hey, he knows it's the Cleveland Browns. You're in the AFC North. The model is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The consistency there. I mean, Jimmy Haslam himself, he's expressed frustration and obviously taken ownership of the fact that, hey, listen, this is on him too, because he was a minority owner with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the model everybody wants to work off. And so I think that you're in the AFC North with John Dorsey is going to want not just the development of the young quarterback, development of all players, getting the players weeded out that don't love football, aren't 100% committed to football, and having a level of toughness and a head coach with measured temperance, and at the same time, one that fits. I think the model that I think Dorsey's used to. I mean, look, Andy Reid, he's obviously a very creative offensive mind, but yep. Andy Reid, there's a toughness to Andy Reid. And John had been with Andy in Green Bay when Andy was just the tight end coach and then the quarterback coach. So he knows the type of head coach he wants. And that guy's out there, and I have no doubt there's a list. I have no doubt that there's probably a list of guys in somewhat order, but John's disciplined himself enough to know he still has to go through that process and then go through the process with the Haslams as well. And we won't know until January.
Let's take kind of a different direction here. Obviously, a huge newsworthy day here in Berea. Tomorrow, the trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern. Do you expect John Dorsey to make a move and try to get Baker Mayfield a weapon at wide receiver?
Well, he'd like to, but listen, you're going to plug in a receiver and hope. What are you going to give up for that? I mean, you don't want to throw off your overall blueprint. So, yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that the goal of John Dorsey and the owner, Jimmy Haslam, is to surround Baker Mayfield with more players, another tight end. Yeah, I mean, the receivers have had some injuries. There's some talent there at receiver, but they're young. I mean, so, Baker getting a young quarterback on the same page with young receivers, Jarvis Landry's the only one there that has that, experience in this league, really. Those things are all part of it. And the other thing is then, certainly getting a staff together. Now, the staff is going to remain intact for the most part, but, other than obviously Haley's not there and Hue's not there. But, they're going to want to run the football. Whoever it is going to have to be able to run the football. And what was the question again?
You
answered it.
You answered it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you on a very busy day for us and for you, obviously, even more so. Thank you so much for taking your time, Mort. We do appreciate you.
Yeah, guys, at least you got something to talk about. It's not always nobody celebrates a head coach firing because we know there are real people involved there. But bottom line is that you got plenty to talk about, and you will be talking about it.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
All right, take care, guys.
Lots to unpack there, including the timeline, which was interesting that, according to their reporting of how this thing went down this morning. I know you and I both jotted that down in our
it sounded
notes.
like Haley was for sure gone, and then they made the decision, everything's got to change.
Yeah.
Even though
According
the timeline, the way
Mort-
that it came out to us was Hue and then Haley, it sounds like perhaps again, and it doesn't matter.
No,
neither one of them are here anymore. And Greg Williams is your interim head coach, and Freddie Kitchens is now your interim offensive coordinator.
All right, we're going to take a quick timeout, and we're going to put a ribbon on this thing of what has been a very eventful day here in Berea CBD on 850 WKNR.
The competition can't know. Bill Doherty Kia and Kia Streetsboro, we're having a loan lease termination sale. Owe too much? Over on your lease miles? Don't worry, we'll pay off your loan or lease regardless of what you owe. Visit BillDohertyKia.com or KiaStreetsboro.com.
With approved credit expires 11/30/2018.
Fontana, where are we at on breaks?
Bob Evans, Bill.
We're actually on time, so we'll take this and we'll come back.
So we just have 1 4-minute break left at the end.
Yeah, at the top, yep.
Yep. We're good. Okay.
Farm. Go with the one that's here to help life go right.
We're
Talk
working
to an
out all the
agent today
details,
at 800
but we'll
State
carry
Farm.
the press conference
Sponsored
at
by
4:30
State Farm.
all across
This
the
segment
Browns
brought to you by
University
State Farm.
Hospitals,
Go with
Browns
the
Radio
one
Network.
that's here to help life go right. Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. Sponsored by...
Hey, what's up? It's Aaron Goldhammer, and for years, customers have been asking Alex to open up a location south of Cleveland, and just like always, he listened to the customers, and he delivered. Northeast Factory Direct is open in Macedonia, 9009 Freeway Drive, just off the exit off 82, and now, with a third location in Macedonia, more furniture, kitchen cabinets, mattresses, the works, they're able to pass even bigger savings on to you. Visit them at any of the 3 locations, east side, west side, and now down south or online, northeastfactorydirect.com.
I'm Joe.
That's future Hall of Famer Joe Thomas.
And I don't like drafts. Drafts make you uncomfortable in your own home and send your hard-earned money right out the window for outrageous energy bills. If you have drafts, make your first pick Universal Windows Direct. Right now, for every window you buy, you get the next window free and 0% financing for 36 months. You're on the clock. Call today, and like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Universal Windows Direct.
Mike here from Professional Roofing Services, where it's all about the roof.
We all have a to-do list, but no other project is more important than protecting your home or building from catastrophic damage. That's why you should start at the top and call Professional Roofing Services. We're the best at what we do in commercial and residential roof repair and replacement. Right now, get on-the-spot financing for those $99 a month. And ask about our worry-free 50-year labor and material warranty. ProRoofingServices.com, the best commercial roofers, now changing the game in residential.
Northfield Park is the place to be this Friday and Saturday for the Breeders' Cup World Championships live from Churchill Downs. Both championship days offer free handicapping contests with cash prizes. On Saturday, doors open early at 10:30 a.m. for simulcast action. Plus, Lady Luck's Clubhouse is offering a buffet for only $14.95. Call 330-467-4101 for reservations. Live racing starts at 6 p.m. Free admission and parking every day at Northfield Park.
This is Baker Mayfield, and you're listening to the home of the Browns, ESPN 850 WKNR.
It's a first Friday. Yeah.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN.
All right, 10 minutes on the nose from right here. You guys are up.
Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about Northeast Factory Direct, your best spot for everything for your house. And even if you want to remodel your kitchen, you're really missing out if you don't go to Northeast Factory Direct for kitchen cabinets, just like everything else. Alex buys kitchen cabinets by the truckload, so he can offer savings of 60 to 70% compared to those big box stores and expensive cabinet stores. Listen to these premium features. These all come standard on Northeast Factory Direct cabinets. 100% solid wood, no particle board or fiberboard, English dovetail drawers, full extension drawer glides, full overlay doors, soft closed drawers and doors. They even throw in your handles and pull knobs for free. And you can go to the location at, of course, Euclid, the old Euclid store in the old B&B Appliance building. You can actually walk into your kitchen design that day with their virtual kitchen. The best thing you can do is just call or go online to northeastfactorydirect.com to schedule an appointment at one of their design centers, or you can just bring your measurements or a quote you've already received to Northeast Factory Direct. They'll take care of you. The 3 locations throughout Cleveland, West 140th Street in Cleveland, the old B&B Appliance on Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or check out everything they have at northeastfactorydirect.com. All right, let's just go through the timeline of this in terms of the way that it came down. Hue Jackson relieved of duties as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Shortly thereafter, within a couple of hours, Todd Haley removed as offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. And then from there, Greg Williams named interim head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and Freddie Kitchens named offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns going forward. Well, there will be a press conference with John Dorsey and Jimmy Haslam at 4:30, which we will carry live on all of our social channels.
Yes.
And everywhere if you want to watch that press conference. That will be at 4:30. This was a lot going on a Monday, and a lot to try to put into perspective, my friend.
It is, and I think a lot of people knew at some point a change would be coming. This is the first time that I've ever experienced it here with the Browns, and I've seen many coaches come and go, but this is the first time I've ever seen it in the middle of the season. And as I said, this organization has clearly decided they are not going to tolerate that kind of public dysfunction. They are not going to tolerate regression on offense, and that, for Baker Mayfield has looked worse lately in the last 3 games, really, because you take that first half against Tampa, and we were both kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
He has looked worse the last 3 games than he did his first 3 games, and that's not what's supposed to happen.
Right.
And so they decided they needed to make a move, develop him. Greg Williams, his side of the ball has been doing the best so far this year. He's the interim head coach. Freddie Kitchens will at least continue the streamlined transition for Baker Mayfield in terms of the verbiage and the similar offense. He was the guy. He was brought here, Todd's protege in many respects. They worked together in Arizona, and this was one of the guys that Todd wanted to be brought here and got to call the plays, as I mentioned, in that final preseason game, had success. Yes, of course, it was the preseason, not the regular season, and he has a tough task ahead of him trying to keep up with this Kansas City Chiefs team in what should be a high score. They'll be high scoring, and we certainly hope the Browns will be as well, because if the Browns are going to win that game, it will be a high scoring game. Just a lot to deal with, and I'm very curious to hear from Jimmy and to John Dorsey. And these days aren't fun. I mean, you build relationships with people in this business, and really, when a head coach goes, it's only a matter of time till really the majority of the staff is not going to be here at the end of this year. And now maybe they can do something miraculous over the last 8 games that gives a pause to that thought. But this is obviously a difficult time, a difficult situation, and for the Browns, you've got to hope that you're moving forward and you feel very good about John Dorsey and what he's done, and clearly he's the guy, along with the Haslams that are in charge of the football side of this operation. So we'll see how that ultimately plays out.
This was about, as we try to wrap our heads around everything that's transpired here today. This was about dysfunction as much as lack of production. That the two of those things walked hand in hand in the decision making that was made here today, and then from going forward. As you think about the last 8 games of this season, you think about where you're going. This is about Baker Mayfield. This is about the maturation of Baker Mayfield. This is the nurturing of Baker Mayfield. This is the growing of Baker Mayfield. This is all of those things. That is the top of the line. You drafted this guy to be a franchise quarterback. You drafted him number 1 overall, and you've got to make sure that he is put in the best position to succeed. You had just mentioned what we have seen the last 3 weeks from 6 versus what we saw from the first bit of the time that he had played, and it was drastically different. It was going in the wrong direction. That can't happen. Beyond that, it is about the young talent on this roster, and this young talent continuing to grow and stay motivated. It's imperative that they get something out of these last 8 games positive, which is why I think Greg Williams makes the sense as the interim head coach. I don't think motivation will be a problem. And then going forward, I think it's very clear that the type of things that have happened here previous to this will no longer be tolerated by the Haslams and by John Dorsey, as you've said. And I think John Dorsey, there's a way of going about the business of the day. And if you think of the organizations he's been in, whether it be the Packers or the Chiefs, there's a way to handle your business. And the handling of the business the last week and a half or so is something that obviously didn't sit well with him in terms of the public nature of it, and so something was done. And now you look at this stretch, and we have spent 2 hours on this show making sense of all of this with the help of Joe Thomas and Chris Mortensen and Jimmy Donovan. I mean, you get the best voices you're going to want to hear from on this thing. We have not talked about what we saw in the Pittsburgh game. We have. It's kind of hit me like a ton of bricks every once in a while that it's the Kansas City Chiefs in here on Sunday.
Yep.
So, and then followed up to that with the Atlanta Falcons. So that is where you sit, and it's a realization that this is big boy stuff. That the National Football League is big boy stuff. It's big business, and it's a zero-sum business.
It is, and it's a cutthroat business at times. And as at least we'll see. Hopefully, this kind of infighting won't be tolerated going forward. But if you were to look at one side of the ball and say where are young players developing, it is on the defensive side of the ball. Ogunjobi's taken big steps. Agba's gotten better. Avery, Miles, Denzel, Money Mitch when he came in was playing well. Demarius Randall. So you are seeing some development there, and that's critically important. I mean, we'll talk a lot more about the Steelers game tomorrow, but I just look at the ball possession and drive chart of the second half. Browns, 3 plays, 1 yard. 1 play, -4 yards, which resulted in a safety. 4 plays, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Of that, only 7 yards were offense, 17 were penalty. 3 plays, -4 yards. 3 plays, -6 yards. So that means after you possess the ball 5 times into the second half, you had exactly -1 yards of total offense to show for it. And I think you saw that, what the first half was like against Tampa, what the entire game was like against the Chargers. And I just hope over the final 8 games, I mean, let's be honest, the talk of playoffs obviously was premature. That's not the focus anymore. Now the focus is developing Baker Mayfield and getting ready for next year and developing the young talent on your football team. And you've got Greg Williams leading the defense and leading the team now to do that. Freddie Kitchens leading the offense, and you hope that is what comes out of these final 8 games, because it's not going to be easy. Home for Kansas City, home for Atlanta, at the Bengals, who are playing well, at the Texans, who have won, I believe now
5 in a row.
5 in a row. Home for Carolina, who's playing as well as anybody in the NFC. At Denver, which is always a tough place to play, especially late in December. Home for the Bengals, and then at the Ravens. I mean, there is not one layup left on the schedule. Not one where you say, okay, it's the Jets or it's the Raiders, and you feel good, the Bucs that you feel good about. Just develop, go out there, fight, and maybe this change can lead to something new for this football team, and I certainly hope it does.
Here is the official statement. Again, you'll hear a press conference with Jimmy Haslam, the owner, along with Dee Haslam of the Cleveland Browns, along with John Dorsey, coming up at 4:30. Here is the statement that was released here in about the last half hour. We greatly appreciate Hue's commitment to the Cleveland Browns organization over the last 2.5 years. We understand how critical this time period is in the development of our football team individually and collectively, and believed it was in the organization's best interest to make the move at this time in order to maximize our opportunities the rest of this season. We certainly only wish Hue, Michelle, and his family the best moving forward. So that is where you sit. That is where we are. This is a football team that plays the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. It is one coming off of probably, the second really listless performance of the last 3 weeks because the Chargers game ended so poorly, and this one was doomed. Pretty, and it really started fine.
You had every opportunity.
To seize the game. It didn't happen. The defense did everything that you could ever ask of a defense playing that type of offense that they had in Pittsburgh, and you didn't take advantage of it. And so you sit here at 2-5-1 with Kansas City coming, and you say we got a long way to go, but we've got to grow this team the right way and in the right voice going forward.
And that's certainly the goal. Obviously, we will have much, much more for you on this. Remember, 4:30 today on the Browns mobile app, clevelandbrowns.com. John Dorsey and Jimmy Haslam will address the media.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on the streams as well. The next level up next, right here on 850 WKNR.
Later, guys.
See you, buddy.
You've been listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, a production of the Cleveland Browns and ESPN 850 WKNR.